Have you ever had that feeling when you walk into the doctor's office or the care facility that your loved one is in, and you can just sense it? You see them rolling their eyes, the subtle sighs, the way that the staff exchanges those glances when they see you coming in, and you've overheard them talking about you and you've become that family member. And you're now afraid that you're the one that they're talking about in the break room or the med room. I've heard so many caregivers talk like this where they're afraid that they're the ones that are being difficult. And I really feel like this, you might notice more changes or more drastic changes. And so your time is limited there, and you might go to the doctor with them, or you might give their doctor a call. And because you only have this short amount of time, you're trying to convey everything all at once. And then you feel like you're being labeled as the difficult family member. And while this scenario may make you feel like you're being the difficult one, it doesn't have to, because this is just the beginning of your advocating journey. And this is where we need to shift our thinking and start advocating like a pro. And what I need you to know first is that when you're advocating for your person, it doesn't have to make you the enemy. After walking alongside of so many caregivers through their journey from hospital rooms to memory care units and care facilities, I have absolutely learned that there's a way to speak up without being shut down by the system. There is absolutely a way to get your loved one the care they deserve while maintaining the respect and dignity for everyone involved. I'm Laura Wilkerson, nurse practitioner and dementia care specialist. And if you're caring for someone with dementia, you've probably felt this tension, where you love your person so fiercely, but you're exhausted from fighting a system that doesn't always listen to you. Well, we can end that vicious cycle right now, because today I'm sharing 5 strategies that will help you advocate effectively without becoming the that everyone dreads to see. Because the truth is, your voice really does matter. Your concerns are valid, and there is absolutely a way to be heard without being that family. When families come to me because they're nervous and they're scared about going either into the hospital, rehab, or seeing a specialist, these are the exact methods that I teach them so that they can communicate in medical language. The first thing that I want to talk to you about is preparation. I've seen this play out so many times. A caregiver is rushing into a meeting, or I meet them at their house, or they're rushing into their loved one's appointment, and their emotions are running high because they might be on their lunch hour, or they might be in a hurry to go pick up their kids, or they've just dropped their kids off, and they're trying to explain a month's worth of concerns in like 5 minutes. And the result of that is that they come across scattered, emotional, and actually kind of difficult. Here's the remedy for that, though: documentation. Before any appointment, before any meeting, I want you to start writing down those observations, those things that you're noticing. Not just that mom seems confused, but in the medical world, we want to see those specific details. Like, on Tuesday at 3 p.m., mom couldn't remember how to use a fork. Or mom asked for her mother like she was still alive 20 times, and yet her mom's been passed away for 30 years. Specific examples. Because when you walk in with clear, factual observations, you're not just the panicked family member. We're now looking at you like a partner in care. You're providing us with so much valuable information that helps everyone else around you understand what's really happening inside of your home. And trust me on this one, your medical team will notice the difference when you start talking in our language. And trust me, I've worked with a ton of other disciplines, and I'm going to tell you that your preparation shows respect for their time and expertise. You're showing that you're serious about finding solutions and not just venting all of your frustrations. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the demand versus a question. And this one can be huge if you're not aware of it. I've seen so many well-meaning caregivers go wrong with this one, because there's a huge difference between saying, You need to increase her meds, or can you help me understand what options we have for managing her anxiety in the evening? Let me show you what I mean. Because there's a huge difference between going to your provider and saying, hey, you need to increase our meds. I'm losing my mind. I can't get any sleep at night because she's not sleeping. She's up pacing around the house. She's hollering, she's screaming, and you need to increase her meds. Versus, well, could we please discuss what options we have for increasing or changing her anxiety meds in the evening? Because currently, this is what she's doing every single night. And I'm giving her her current medications, and it's still not working. The key to this is understanding that questions invite collaboration, whereas demands are going to increase resistance. When you approach conversations with curiosity instead of certainty, something beautiful happens there because the medical system starts seeing you as someone who wants to understand, as someone not as someone who thinks that they know better than the person prescribing the medications. You might learn something new by changing your perspective and the way that you're asking those questions. And if your loved one is in a facility and you need to make a formal complaint or you want to bring something up to the executive director's attention, instead of saying something like, hey, your staff's over there texting on their phones and they're not paying any attention to my dad, what you might try saying is something like, hey, I've noticed that my dad seems more agitated after lunch. Has your staff observed any patterns that might be contributing to that? Because do you see the difference there? Number one, you're not putting an executive director on defense because you're not pointing out a fault. This way, you're asking for them to observe your loved one without pointing fingers. And you're sharing your observations while inviting their expertise into that conversation. And if you can take this approach too, it will turn potential adversaries into your allies. The third strategy that I want to talk about is one that I find makes a huge difference, either in home or in care facilities. And it's where you can really stand out from other caregivers. And it starts with offering solutions as opposed to just pointing out what's wrong. Because if you start pointing at solutions and you come with ideas about what might work better, that's where you're going to get buy-in. And it doesn't mean you have to have all of the answers, but it shows that you've thought about solutions and demonstrates that you're invested in the outcomes as well. And like I said, this works in an assisted living or memory care unit facility as well. Because maybe you've noticed that your mom is calmer when she has her favorite blanket with her or her favorite stuffed animal with her, or that your dad responds better to a male caregiver. See, not everybody in the facility may know your person's preferences. Staff turnover can be pretty high in these situations, whether it's in the hospital or whether it's in a care facility. So by sharing those things like, hey, I've noticed that mom does much better with her evening routine when we play soft music, or mom's going to eat much better if you sit with her or chop her food, or dad's not going to get agitated if you play chess with him before lunch. Those little nuggets are so important, and you hold those in your memory. So maybe even just documenting them down and giving a care sheet to your facility. And then ask them to incorporate that into their care plan. And you're not telling them how to do their job. You're just sharing valuable information about your person that can make their job so much easier and make them more effective. Because even though the system may fail caregivers and a person with dementia, most people working in that system really want to help. But sometimes they don't know all of those little details that make your loved one unique. And I've watched so many families transform their relationships with care teams simply by shifting from this isn't working to here's what I've seen work so well, and here, let's try this. The fourth strategy that I want to talk about, most caregivers miss. And I don't want you to be someone who falls into that same gap. And I want you to start shifting your thinking and think about this. A lot of families that I work with, whether it's one-to-one or in my medical practice, wait far too long before they get help. They wait until they're in crisis mode before seeking out appropriate teams or people. I don't want you to do that. I don't want you waiting until there's a crisis to start building relationships with your care teams. So, if your person is living at home, I want you to take some time when it's quiet or when your person is quiet, and I want you to start thinking about the future. What people might I need in the future? Is it hospice? Is it palliative care? Is it in home helpers or aides? Am I going to need somebody to help me clean the house? And start making a list of all of those people. And then that way, you've spoken to them before the crisis. If your person is living in a facility, make sure that you get to know the staff and really connect with them. Like learn their names, maybe find out what their favorite treats are or bring treats in, because that just shows that you're thinking about them as well. Their job is really hard. It's not bribing them for better care. It's just showing that you appreciate them, really getting to know them, and then that will be reciprocated. They're going to really get to know your person in turn. Then, if you eventually need some more support or you're going to have a difficult conversation about something, you're not just another family member and your person's not just room 9. And it doesn't seem like you're making demands. You're someone that they know, that they've made contact with, and that they have a relationship with. Because I promise you, relationships change everything. The last strategy that I want to talk about is what to do if things don't go the way that you think that they should have, and when and how to escalate them. Because sometimes, despite your best efforts, you hit up against a wall. Maybe your concerns aren't being addressed, or you're not seeing the changes that you thought you wanted to see with your loved one. And this is the point in time where you need to know how to properly escalate those concerns. So first, you're obviously going to want to try and resolve all those issues at the direct care level. If that doesn't work, ask to speak with the charge nurse or the unit manager or the executive director and document everything: dates, times, who you spoke with, what was discussed. And this isn't about building up a case against anyone. It's about creating a clear record of your attempts to address your concerns. And then when you do escalate this up the ladder, make sure that you're focusing on your loved one's needs and safety, not your frustrations. I mean, it's okay to talk about your frustrations, but there's a complete difference when you're talking about dad's safety because he's fallen twice this week and you'd like to discuss additional prevention measures. And that's more effective than just pointing a finger and saying, your staff isn't doing their job properly. You're going to get more bees with honey, right? And what I'd like you to remember is the goal isn't to win here. It's to get your person the best care possible. And sometimes that means having very uncomfortable conversations. But it doesn't mean that you have to be uncomfortable in those conversations or be considered the uncomfortable one to be around. And I've said this 1,000 times before. I know that caregiving can be hard. You're watching someone you love change right before your eyes, and you're navigating a system that was never built for you. And oftentimes that system feels like it's working directly against you. But you don't have to choose between being heard and being liked. You can advocate fiercely while maintaining dignity and respect for everyone that's involved. And honestly, your person needs you to speak up. They need you to ask those hard questions and push for better care. But they also need you to do it in a way that builds bridges instead of burning them down. Because at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. We all want your loved one to be safe, comfortable, and treated with dignity and respect. Look, you're not asking for too much when you ask for good care. You're not being difficult when you notice things that others might be missing. You're being a loving caregiver who refuses to accept good enough when better is possible. If this sounds like you, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment below and let me know what's one advocacy challenge that you're facing right now. Because sometimes just putting it into words helps us see that path forward and more clearly. And remember, you don't have to walk this journey alone. There are resources and support strategies that can help you feel more confident and equipped every step of the way. And if you can make these little shifts, it will help you become a better advocate and one that speaks that medical language. Because caring for the caregiver isn't just a nice thing, it's essential. And when you feel supported and you feel equipped, your person gets better care. It's just that simple. Thanks for watching. And until next week, I'll be here sharing for you while you're caring for them.